begin pre-calculus, the teacher is going to expect that you understand what a quadratic equation is and you know how to solve a quadratic equation. In this video, we're just going to cover how to recognize a quadratic equation. So, we're going to begin with the standard form of a quadratic equation. In our first example here, we have a quadratic equation written in standard form. So the first thing you're going to notice is that all the terms are on one side and 0 is on the other side. It doesn't matter which side the 0 is on. Basically, you want to clump all of the terms on one side. So if we look at this equation, we have our first term here, 3x squared. This is a second degree term. And in our standard form, this 3x squared is going to be our a term, or ax squared. Our second term, 5x, is a linear term, and we refer to this as the b term. And then our last term, 2, is our constant, and we refer to this as our c term. You should know standard form, and you should have this memorized. Most teachers will actually refer to these different terms as the a term, the b term, and the c term. And this is important for factoring and solving quadratic equations later on. If you recognize certain things about the equation, then you can do some shortcuts. So this first equation here is written in standard form, so it is a quadratic equation. The next one we're going to look at doesn't look exactly like standard form, but we're going to try to rewrite it so that it looks like it's in standard form. When you're trying to decide if an equation is a quadratic equation, one strategy is to try and rewrite it in standard form. And if you can write it in standard form, then it is a quadratic equation. So, right now when I look at this, I am missing a b term. So we can write that b term in there this way. So we're going to have 2x squared plus 0x minus 16. By adding this 0x in here, I'm not really changing the equation because anything times 0 is 0. But now when I look at it, this is my 2x squared is my a term, 0x is my b term, and then 16 is my c term. So I've rewritten it in standard form, so it is a quadratic equation. When I look at number 3 here, same thing. I am missing a term. I have an a term, so I have a squared term. I have a linear term, but I'm missing a constant. So I can replace that constant with 0. Once again, adding 0 to something doesn't change it. It's still the same expression. So I'm going to rewrite this as 4x squared plus 2x plus 0 equals 0. So this is my a term, this is my b term, and this is my c term. So my a term is 4x squared, my b term is 2x, and my c term is 0. Okay. Now, a lot of the time when we are looking at an equation, it's not going to be written in standard form. So on this one, we don't have all the terms on one side. So I'm going to move all the terms to one side and then see if I can rewrite it in standard form. Generally, it's easier to move the terms to the side with the highest degree. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the 4x to the other side. So I'm going to subtract 4x from the right side and subtract 4x from the left side. I can't combine the 4x with any of these because they're not like terms. So I'm just going to write this as negative 4x squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0. So now when I'm looking at it, negative 4x squared is my a term, 4x is my b term, and then 3 is my constant. So I've rewritten it in standard form. I have a squared term, a linear term, and a constant, so that is a quadratic equation. Now on the last one here, before I even try and move things around, when I look at each term that I have, the degree on the first term is 3. Quadratic equations only have degree 2, degree 1, or degree 0 terms in them. So that means that this one right here is not a quadratic because of this. All right. In the next videos that we look at, we will cover some examples that you guys will try on your own.